In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet the crunch stitch. You will need your selected yarn. I'm using Paintbox Wool Mix in Aran weight, and for this particular yarn, I'm using a 7mm crochet hook. Make sure you check your yarn label to see which size hook is recommended. You will also need a pair of scissors and a darning needle to sew in your ends. But before we get into this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with all of my latest videos. Click that bell button to be notified of when my videos go live, and also don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. I shall leave lots of links in the description box below for you, so make sure you go and check those out. Right, let's get started. You want to begin by creating a slip knot, and you can do this in whichever method you prefer. Go ahead and insert your hook. And we're going to start with our foundation chain, and this foundation chain is going to be in multiples of 2. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, that's 2, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, that's 4. Keep going until you get to the correct width for the project that you want to make. Pause the video and meet me back in just a moment. Now that you've completed your chain, we're going to work back the other way, and we're going to start off by doing a slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. So not the chain that's on the hook, not this one here, but this one just here. You're going to insert your hook, grab the yarn and pull through all the loops which are on the hook. Now we're going to do a half treble crochet into the next stitch. So this is a UK term. In the US, this is known as half double crochet. You're going to put your yarn around the hook, insert into that next chain, grab the yarn and pull through. You'll have 3 loops on the hook, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. We're now going to do a slip stitch into the next chain, and a half treble crochet into the next chain. We're going to repeat this all the way along until you reach your last chain, and you will find that your last chain should be a slip stitch. So go ahead and pause the video, repeat that pattern, and I shall meet you back once you're at the end of your chain. So I've now finished this first row and I've finished on a slip stitch. What you're going to do is you're going to chain 2 and turn your work, and this will class as a half treble crochet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a slip stitch into the half trebles from the first row, and then do a half double crochet into the slip stitch from the last row. So it can actually be quite difficult to see which is which, but as you look at the top you will have a slightly elongated stitch and then a shorter stitch, and then a slightly elongated one and a shorter one. This longer one is the top of your half treble, and this shorter one is your slip stitch from the previous row. So as I said, this one is classing as a half treble crochet, so we're going to locate that half treble from the first row and go ahead and do a slip stitch. Now what we're going to do is locate that slip stitch from the first row, which is just here. It can be a little bit difficult to see and to get into, so just take your time, and you're going to do your half treble into that slip stitch from the previous row. Make sure you're picking up both of those loops from the slip stitch, bring your yarn through and then pull all the way through. So again, slip stitch, and then a half treble. See how it's just a little bit more difficult here? Don't worry, just wiggle your hook and it will go through. And then slip stitch, and you will go into your half treble again. So this time you are actually going to finish on a half treble crochet in your very last stitch. So go ahead and pause the video and meet me back once you've worked your way all the way along. I've now come to the end of this row, and what I'm going to do is chain 1 and turn my work, and then this time we are starting with a slip stitch, and we're going to start in this very first stitch just here. So just slip stitch to start, and then we're going to go into our double trebles again. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all three, and then slip stitch. What you will find is your work starts to get a bit easier the more you build your rows. It will get a little bit more structure and be easier to work into those slip stitches from the previous row. But once you get going, it's actually a pretty easy stitch to do, which looks really, really effective. So pause the video and work your way all the way to the end, doing your slip stitches into the half trebles from the previous rows and your half trebles into the slip stitches from the previous row. Work your way to the end. On this one, you'll finish with a slip stitch, and I'll show you for one more row what to do with this stitch. I've now come to the end of my row, and what I'm going to do is chain 2. This classes as a treble. And then I'm going to move straight into the top of this stitch just here with a slip stitch, and then move into my half treble. So you would work all the way along, and it's a 2-row repeat. So you're actually going to repeat row 3 and 4 over and over again until you get to the length that you want. I'm going to go ahead and build a few more rows just so you can see what this starts to look like. Okay, so I have just built a few more rows, and you can really see that this stitch is starting to build beautifully. It gives a really nice texture to it, and it kind of reminds me, I won't say basket weave, but a weaved effect. But obviously basket weave is a different stitch, but I just think it looks really, really nice. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all of my latest videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again next time. Bye!